One of my expectations upon using formative assessment consisted of being able to find a strategy to evaluate the learning process of an online course where teachers did not have the possibility of any physical contact with the students. For this, I had to design individual work time and group work time in order to facilitate autonomous and collaborative learning. The purpose of the individual activity was for each student to produce work as a baseline to be able to participate collaboratively in the group activities. As a teacher, I could see how the individual work matured and gained strength from feedback provided by classmates and students' openness to their final work being improved. To support the development and traceability of individual and group activities, students publish in an online forum their stories and receive proactive comments and feedback from their classmates. In this group phase, I expected students to learn by answering the following questions. How did you find that resource? How did you manage to publish it on Storify? Which contents coming from your classmates provided helpful information and knowledge? Did your classmates' work met the methodological structure of a story with the structure of a custom didactic? This guiding question allowed the focus to be on contribution carried out by students by showing recommendations with foundations that are highly important for the improvement of the work of all classmates. Feedback amongst peers enabled better understanding and strengthening of the different techniques demanded by this activity. Monitoring the intervention in the forum allowed me to identify those cases in which students did not properly apply the didactic storytelling technique by providing examples as reference to improve it. Some students showed difficulties in developing skills when using the Storify tool, which gradually required me, as a teacher, to incorporate more video tutorials in order to simplify the comprehensions and handling of the student when using the storytelling. It was also interesting that among classmates and collaborative trends start to emerge. This was demonstrated by the fact that they would publish messages with new tutorials for their classmates, or they would comment on how they achieve a certain effect or a specific solution to a problem. This situation was not planned by me, but it emerged in a very favorable way within the process of the course. The design of these learning activities linked to a case as a strategy in order to be able to realize a formative evaluation has mostly been based on my intentions and experience from several attempts on other courses where I have perfected this way of achieving activities that, once solved, provide a solution to the overall issues presented in the course. I also believe that my basic training as an architect, having received training under the workshop methodology and under the didactic technique of projects, have always been very important. I always try to combine theories with their application in practice, developing something concrete and applying it to real solutions. The greatest challenge for this course lies in being able to design using these logical formative evaluation learning activities as a basis, articulated as an input for summative evaluation, which in turn will also articulate with the contents of the course, previously established by the instructional design, and pose practical, concrete, and applicable exercises with the use of didactic techniques such as storytelling and Web 2.0 tools such as Storify. The design of a formative evaluation strategy in coordination with summative evaluation supported by development process from learning activities that are completely integrated with each other has been an empirical process of success and failure until arriving at this type of structural design of online courses. Later on, I was made aware that many of my intentions as a teacher fall into what is known as formative evaluation, and it is where my restlessness arose in order to train better in formative evaluation techniques. The institution that invited me to this process initially posed the need to design innovative learning activities that use the content previously designed for the course of didactic strategies by the production team of its virtual education unit. I was given a month before the course started to design the learning activities, supported by a pedagogical designer with whom I had meetings via web conference. First, she provided an induction in her work model, as well as in various tools that were available to me. And secondly, I would be guided in the form that needed to be filled out, learning guides, items, formats to develop forum posts, and learning activities, among others. My perspective was that the initial idea of the institution and the assignment time required the design of the learning activities coordinated with the contents and resources established with each content unit. Although I may provide complementary resources, and that in the first instance, the pedagogical support, wanting weekly progress reports in the design of each of the activities and associated complementary resources, as well as posts to be used in the helping tools, the learning guide, and the work schedule. The course began with the 2 first learning units already operating, while the rest of the course was still in production. 2 additional weeks of work had to be carried out in order to assemble the 2 following units. This was clear since the beginning, but it caused the institution team some concerns since starting an online course that is on offer, but that does not have everything ready within the first week. It's not a good practice. In the end, the situation was not bad, and the students had to clue about as week by week a new learning unit was online for them. The time needed to create these online class activities was almost 4 times the time needed for in-classroom exercises. However, the institution and the pedagogical support were flexible regarding the proposal, since at the beginning it was very difficult to realize the consistency of the activities with the formative assessment purposes. This consistency only materializes at the end when all the learning activities had been designed. At that moment, the pedagogical support and the institution finally and kindly embraced this innovative approach for the course.